Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Always Online Multiplayer Gaming Podcast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things multiplayer related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka magicman, as always, and here we are, rocking episode 494. We've got updated Pantheon news from last week, including your opinions to last week's question of the week about covering leaks. We've got our most anticipated MMOs of 2024 and a few other tidbits. If you're watching on YouTube, listening on iTunes, Spotify, any of that, thank you so much. While you're there, give it a little like, a thumbs up, a subscribe. Turn on those notifications, leave a review, a comment, whatever. Feed the algorithms. Most importantly, if you like what we do here, hit up MMOBomb.com and bring a friend. It's fast and it's cheap and a great way to support us. Joining me today to cover all the fun stuff, Mr. Troy Blackburn, the noob fridge himself. What's up, boss?
Let me be very clear with our live viewers. Just because I was the last one here doesn't mean it's my fault we're late.
Oh, no. Don't worry. I already explained to the live chat what was going on. Yeah. Normally, we're doing the show twitch.tv/MMOBomb live at 1 p.m. Eastern. Getting started here about a half hour late. I had some conference calls that were bumping into each other that I don't typically have. I appreciate both of my hosts' patience. Speaking of the other hosts, Mr. Wilfredo Rivera. What's up, sir?
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, it's fine. We get it. You know, I've even been responsible for, schedule changes. But hey, it wasn't my fault this time.
Troy, was that me and you, or was it Jason and I? The one where we had no clue where Wilfredo was. We're both live with chat, like, where's Wilfredo? And one of your friends that lived near you at the time was like, I could go knock on his window real quick if you want, because he's not answering texts.
Yeah, no, I remember that clearly.
You're kind of eating your lower third there a little bit, so if you can just sit up a little. Let me see. Yeah, I can't really do much with your camera frame as far as bringing you up. Yeah, your friendly neighborhood biker Wilfredo with the awesome ass guitars he finally gets to display at the new place. So, well, gents, we got a lot to cover, so I say we get right to it. Let's hit the news bump. We got confirmation for you. Breaking news yesterday from Visionary Realms, the team behind Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, an MMORPG I am eagerly anticipating. Yes, it's got an older school look, an older school feel. I'm totally on board with that. Don't care. Most Pantheon fans are. They changed the art style. Okay, maybe not my favorite, but yeah, I'm still going with you. Last week's show, we covered leaks coming from their 247 testing, which turned out to be, a totally different kind of extraction gameplay mode, and some communication from the team, allegedly, that had gone out to some of the testers that were already in said mode. Short version, gents, leaks confirmed. Yesterday, the Pantheon team posted on their site their October producers letter where they detailed 247, plans for monetization. A lot of the things I covered in my piece last week, they pretty much just ran the list and confirmed. It really didn't make any sense why they couldn't just confirm last week then that, yeah, that communication is ours, but there'll be a public-facing communication coming soon. This was not intended for a public audience. We'll be a little more clear on some details in that public thing. Whatever. Like, I get it. They were probably caught off guard by a lot of stuff. It happens. Since then, they posted that letter yesterday. They posted a video, gents, of the 24/7 gameplay, or the 247 gameplay. So you get to see a little bit of the whole idea behind the loop of what they're doing for this 247 testing, and then a whole letter talking about why they're doing this, potential monetization plans, etc., etc. Now that it's all confirmed as fact, Troy, has your stance on this whole 247 mode changed?
No, absolutely not. It's unimpressive. It's not what players wanted. It's not what players were looking forward to. It's not what players want in their testing in the game. It's not what they wanted to see under development. It's not what they wanted to see come out of the studio at all. And I'm the same way. It doesn't look impressive. It doesn't look like it's going to be any fun to play. Players who want to play and test an MMO may not have any interest in the extraction version of this, and we'll circle back to that here in a little bit when we get into the podcast that they just released, because the gentleman on the podcast, the developer, whose name is escaping me all
Chris
of a sudden at the
Perkins.
moment. Thank you. Flat out said that when it came to other games like Ashes of Creation and Chronicles of Lyria, that he himself only played those for like 10 minutes and he had no interest in them. So why are you so surprised that nobody has interest in your alternative game mode for your MMO?
Yeah, so specifically, they did hold a Discord Q&A call yesterday, late last night. It was like 8:30 East Coast time or 9:30, something like that. It was later in the day. I'm in the process of just doing, I'm not going to do like a whole editorial. I've already editorialized on MMOBomb.com as much as I want to in yesterday's piece. Nothing in the Q&A really causes me to want to editorialize any more than what I'm going to on this show. But I will have like a recap of some of the big points on that Discord Q&A call. It's about an hour 45 long. I still have about 40 minutes left to recap. So if there's anything in those last 40 minutes, chat, that I really, really should know about when I'm talking about some other things, or if there's something that was clarified, of course, let me know. I still have that little gap left to go. Wilfredo, there is something to be said, right? For this obviously is not what Pantheon MMORPG players want, right? You know, even if I'm okay with an extraction game, I'm not generally a fan of them, but, you know, the cycle did it for me for a little while. Maybe this would interest me in an MMO fashion. Yeah, I totally get it, right? This isn't what us Pantheon MMO players wanted, what we're looking forward to. But on the team side of things, something that they expressed in the written letter and then beat over with a hammer in the QA multiple times was, you don't have to like this. You don't have to agree with us that this is the route we should go. But we would ask, particularly of those that may be in testing and have had their hands on this, and even the general public that hasn't, like us, we would ask that you please just understand this is giving us data, actionable data for the MMO that you are here for. And first and foremost, Visionary Realms is an MMO, Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen MMORPG company. If it doesn't serve in the creation of that, we're not going to continue to do it. We believe this satisfies some of the issues we had with longer-term testing, people staying engaged with testing, and giving us information. And there's only a small fraction of what goes into 247 that doesn't directly apply or can be transferred to the MMO. Whether you believe all of that or not, that's not what I'm asking. Can you at least understand, if all of those items are true, why the team might decide this is worth pursuing in conjunction with the longer-term goal of the MMO, even if every backer, every VIP person, every critic, fan, follower, whatever, might not be totally on board?
Yeah, I personally look at this as nothing more than the Sisyphean philosophy. I'm going to roll this boulder up this hill no matter what. And credit to the development team on that, because they don't want this thing to just be pushed off to the wayside. I listened to the entire Q&A this morning, and I took some notes in the process. There's some things like, I have to give credit. They are dedicated to this. They do not have a lot of the resources that they need to push this a little bit faster. It's the reason why they're going the route that they're going. Chris Perkins is staunchly against the idea of monetization in the fundamental publisher way, because he said it himself that it makes him like hard to say those things during the Q&A. I want to believe that. I genuinely want to believe that this is a dream that just takes time to come true. But reading some of the comments in that video, there's a guy there who's been watching this game go on for 9 years.
Yeah, we all have.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Like,
and they use 247 in the call. They use that as the point of when those that can see the type of stuff that we're developing and giving access to, or letting players see, or giving updates on behind the scenes, we hope you'll realize that cadence has picked up. That's a direct result of the art style change in 247, and we hope you're going to continue to see that. It's one of those things that I want to give benefit of the doubt, Troy. But there were, to your point, some things that were said that I felt were disingenuous at worst on the QA, misinformed or uninformed at best. One you already alluded to. They kind of don't like the EverQuest Next, Ashes of Creation example. And I do agree with them, and this is why in my article yesterday, I said I'm going to give an example that isn't EverQuest Next, because I think EverQuest Next is a bit of a different beast, right? That wasn't EverQuest Next came, was in development. Then they pivoted to Landmark to sell Landmark to go back. Yeah, there were two things working in conjunction, but then Daybreak, and that was an entirely very surreal decisions going on there. And I don't think they necessarily apply to the way Pantheon is handling this. But I do think Ashes of Creation is an apt example. It's the one I gave in the story. Now, Chris, when he talked in the thing, like you said, he's not into battle royales, so he didn't really spend a lot of time into Ashes of Creation Apocalypse. He did allude to Chronicles of Illyria and some other things, which are totally different situations. But he kind of shrugged off the Ashes of Creation Apocalypse comparison, and I don't think he should have.
No, they absolutely shouldn't have.
Yeah, that was literally Ashes of Creation spun up Apocalypse for the exact same public-facing reasons. This gives us opportunity to test things from the MMO in a live environment with players, doing certain things, gathering data. They said all the same things. The only difference was they made it free-to-play and slapped a cosmetic cash shop inside. There was no payment to get into the thing. It was free-to-play. And we all see how that went. Like, it never made it out of early access. Like, it just disappeared. And we still see today what's going on with Ashes of Creation. I feel like that's an apt comparison for Pantheon. Even though they're not sure what they want to do monetization-wise yet. Maybe they'll monetize it as a separate game. Maybe they won't. They're not ready to say one way or another for sure, Troy.
Which is disconcerting in itself 9 years later, almost 10 years later at this point, that we just still don't know directions we're going with certain things we're spinning off, things that we're doing. And to me, nine and a half years, almost 10 years later in February, from the initial Kickstarter that failed, where we don't have enough MMO to throw out as a test. We have to split off something. And I understand that he said in the Q&A he was the only full-time developer, that everybody else is part-time. And I get that, but it's been 9.5 years of MMO development of a crowdfunded MMO.
That did receive private funding too.
Yeah.
It's not strictly crowdfunded anymore.
We're expecting to see something at some point from the MMO side of it and some sort of testing. And he says, spring of next year. I don't really foresee that happening based on what we've seen so far from the game.
That's just resuming the testing that they already have, right?
Yeah.
That's not even expanding testing. Now, what's funny about the monetization question for me, Wilfredo, is one, it's already monetized, right? Not specifically by itself yet. And that's kind of what they alluded to in the post. Like, would we sell this as a separate game? Maybe. And they reiterated that on the QA, that they have not decided those things yet. I would guess differently, but they have monetized this. If you want to get in right now, it is just a paltry $750 or more, right? It's in one of their it's in one of their supporter pledge packs that starts at $750, and then all the ones that are more expensive obviously have it.
Let me go sign up.
Later, they're going to, then maybe you just wait, Troy, because they're eventually going to give it to anybody that has a pledge pack that has alpha access later this year. Those ones start at $250. So you can see yourself.
I can save myself $500.
So like it or not, it is already monetized, Wilfredo, just not by itself. And there is no way they don't monetize this. They have made such a big deal about, we could totally finish with the funding we have, and by the way, I've seen people say, didn't they say they were fully funded? No, not really. They said they were funded enough to make it to a launch, but it may not be the launch they want. Then they got some private funding, and they made expressly clear right then that it was not fully funded then. So kinda they could get to a launch, maybe just not the launch they want to, and the time period would be, many, many years versus getting additional funding. There's no way they don't monetize this. There's no damn point. The data you're trying to get out of the testing can't possibly be so beneficial that you're willing to sacrifice this made-up 5 to 10% number of resources and time of stuff that does not directly relate to the MMO, unless you're going to monetize it. And they've said, hey, look, we would like to get more money. Crowdfunding is slowing, something they've said. They've also said it's not panic mode yet. We don't want people panicking. We still can do this. It's just going to take years and years. There's no fucking way you're going to monetize this. By the way, this video looks like shit.
Look, all right.
I'm showing this B-roll. The video is awful.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you for saying that, because I didn't want to go in on it just yet. But I got to say, this looks like what WoW would have come out to look like in 2007. But that being aside, you have to, right? You absolutely have to monetize. There's no question to that. But monetizing by having a $750 pay gate to get through, and then later on it's only $250. That's half of somebody's rent. Like, nobody's gonna drop that right now, especially not for a game in this state. It's just not happening. I just say, be a bit smarter about your monetization. Put it in the game, get the cosmetics if they're available. If none of that's available, understood. But at least if you have the money, as they say, they have the funding to launch a game. It may not be in the state. Put that to work. But during the Q&A, Chris Perkins said, Troy said it earlier, he's the only full-time developer. They do hire within the community, but he stated that if this game were to continue on track as it is, it wouldn't release for years.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah. And they said that in the October post, too. It's, by the way, for an extraction game, like, it's PUBG in an MMO shell, in case you haven't looked into seeing what this extraction mode is. Troy, why they showed just a single player killing a few low-level things and then walking to a portal, I will never know. Get a group. Go kill something big or cool-looking. Go explore something in the world that's cool and visual with a group of friends. It's an MMO. Literally, oh my God. By the way, in the video, a snake parried. I almost pissed myself when it happened. I was like, that snake just parried.
Yeah, they just are not doing themselves favors at all.
It's so much self-inflicted wounds.
And I'll forgive the podcast itself. It's not an easy listen. Not everybody's a great not everybody's a great speaker. So
that's true.
You can't judge anybody for that. But it's not an easy listen at all. There's a lot of dev speak and a lot of sort of avoiding things and directly answering some things and then not directly answering other things. And the podcast itself, I don't know, did them a ton of favors, and this footage definitely doesn't do them any favors at all. You could have made, even as bad as the game looks like it just is. It looked like it just exists in this state. You could have done better with this video showing off this mode, like you said, and do something cool and interesting. And I haven't played it, so maybe there is more cool, interesting stuff to do in it. Maybe there's not, because that would make me believe that there's not. If they didn't show anything cool and interesting, maybe it just doesn't exist.
Well, it is also something that's going to be expanded over time. Like some of the MMORPGs zones will be added into 24/7 and things like that. So here's the thing that's on the surface for me, and I said this in the article, Wilfredo. At the top level, I don't think 247 is a bad thing. looking at it 30,000 foot, saying, hey, we're going to put together this little 1 hour extraction-y thing. We want to test some quest systems, test some progression, test some server structure, test all this different stuff. And so we're going to create this little thing, and we're going to let some of our pledges come into this thing and just give us some feedback. Yeah, it's not the MMO, it's not the MMORPG, but you know what? We don't feel right charging a subscription or whatever for you to come and play this MMO yet when it's not in the state we feel comfortable doing that. And by the way, you guys would all blow through the content to get to max level. We know how you play anyway. We actually want some other systems like lower level gear you might not wear all the time and things like that tested. So we're going to make this little mode. And that's going to give us some additional data. I have no problem with that if you stop right there. What I have a problem with is, one, Pantheon supporters had no clue that when they talked back in July about going to 24/7 testing, that it was going to be an entirely different game, genre, everything. All they were told, who they were probably pretty excited, finally, I get more than 1 day in Pantheon to check this MMO out. They told it's going to be a special game mode. We'll tell you more about it in September after we have some of our alpha pledges tested out a little bit. Publicly, while you can say, yeah, we told you it was going to be a different game mode, I don't think there's a 0% chance that nobody bought particular packs between July and October anticipating being able to get 24/7 testing of some type or some piece of this MMO, only to be bamboozled or feel bamboozled, I should say, into this extraction game. And credit where due, Chris Perkins did mention this in the Q&A, right? He did take this one and kind of took it head on, right on the face. So kudos there for at least addressing the feedback on 247 is a terrible name. The way this was communicated and felt like it was almost hidden that it was this totally different game mode, while people might be buying crowdfunding pledge packs and things like that. This felt a little scummy, and he said, we got to own that one. That we got to take responsibility for that. Certainly it was not our intention in any way to be deceptive or anything like that, but we do have to own how that looked. So I got to give a little bit of credit there, because that's my problem with this. It's you knew it wasn't what people were going to expect, and you weren't clear. You didn't set the expectation. It just fell on everybody like this.
Yeah, well, half the chat is basically saying the same thing. Like, who asked for this?
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of those things where this is a lesson in how communication really needs to be well thought out, well planned, and well communicated, right? Because if they're saying this is a new game mode, I'm expecting, okay, maybe it's something a little bit more PvP centric, maybe it's a new thing for PvE content. But when it's something like an extraction game, right? I'm personally like, I don't care for this. And he said that it's not your cup of tea. That's fine. But he also said in the Q&A, like, he wasn't a fan of
Battle Royales. And that's why he doesn't like the comparison to Ashes of Creation. And I think if he did like Battle Royales, he would probably know that the comparison is apt. I mean, they gave the exact same reasons for why they did that Pantheon's giving here.
Right. And that's the disappointing part, at least for me, because it's not what people signed up for. Like, I would, if I were backing this game, or if I was really heavily invested in this game and this came out, I probably would have said, I don't want this. And honestly, I'm going to pull away from this. This is not something that I'm looking forward to. There are some great ideas though. And this is where I will give them credit. They are trying new things. I'll give them that. It's very important to try new things in this space, because the MMO genre does get stale pretty fast. Trying something new, cool. Testing some things, not a problem with. But not being transparent about what it's supposed to be, that's where I'm like, all right, so what else are you hiding behind the curtain that we should know?
Yeah, and they talked about transparency too, Troy. Troy, let's take a walk down the really negative aspect of this, and not necessarily saying that any three of us feel these particular viewpoints, but in the interest of a full discussion, full discourse of things you're seeing on the internet regarding this. By the way, climbing did not kill Pantheon. Like,
That in my notes actually.
the climbing did not kill Pantheon. They've seen it so much that apparently it came up during the QA. Taking a walk down the darker side of thinking about what is going on here. Although they keep saying, crowdfunding has slowed. If it stayed the way it is now, we could finish, but it's going to be years. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't have access to their funding. I feel like when you launch something like 24/7, it's a gamble, right? Am I going to... One, if you're strictly after data, then fine. None of this matters. None of this matters. But you've also spoken to leading to more funding and leading to a potential investor. So it's not all about data. There is at least a big portion of this, if not the entire portion, that is about, we got to put something out to make some money because we need some money, which is understandable. But also you have to wonder how much money got pissed away. If we've been here 9 years, there seems to be a lack of direction enough to, you recently changed the art style. What exactly is going on behind the scenes here? And I question an investor, right? Like, if an investor wanted to invest in Pantheon, they already would have done it by now. And if they like what they see in 247 enough to invest, they want to invest in 247. It's highly unlikely you're going to get one that's going to be like, oh yeah, I like what you're doing there, and yeah, sure, fine, I'll invest in the MMO. No, a savvy investor is going to go after exactly what they want to invest in. And that's it. So I don't know. There's also the even darker viewpoint of 247 simply being a method of getting something released to help mitigate any potential legal complications Visionary Realms may or may not have with not releasing anything due to its crowdfunded nature. What do you think of any of those views?
For all the negativity that I sort of have towards the game and this game mode in particular, I don't think this is an attempt just to get something out. I think this is an attempt to secure additional funding. I think this is an attempt to garner interest in the game again. I don't think it's going well, obviously. I mean, I guess your name's out there. No news is bad news, right? As long as you're making headlines, that's all that matters. So they've probably got more attention on their game than they've had over the past 5 or 6 years. God, I can't believe it's been like 9, almost 10 years now that this game has been going on. But yeah, I don't think that it was an attempt just to get something out. I don't think they're trying to do something that dirty. 100% my opinion there. Wilfredo, what do you think?
Honestly, I again, it goes back to their lack of transparency on communication. I really think that it's not their intention to try to deceive anyone. It's poor planning. It's a misstep. They have to do some serious course correction, but they can do it. So
can they do it though? Like, this feels like you're gambling to try and secure some funding. And the only time you gamble to try to secure funding is because you can't secure funding via any other method. This feels like my business is going to go out. This almost feels like I'm calling Chef Ramsay in to help me on like Kitchen Nightmares, right? Like, I'm 3 months away from closing. Let's get Chef Ramsay in here to yell at us a little bit, clean the walk-in out, and hopefully we can make it. I don't know, like that. Whenever you're gambling on trying to secure more funding, I feel like it's because that's the last option you have to try and get funding. And I agree with you that I don't think it's anything nefarious where, okay, we got to get something out there to avoid. Honestly, I've always thought Pantheon was mismanaged, even when Brad was there, rest his soul, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe mismanaged is the wrong word. Lacked clear direction in its focus.
as it clearly is now.
It had ideas of what it wanted to be in this regard, this regard, this regard, this regard. And I feel like, 9 years, 10 years later, we're seeing, I've been critical of it in the past for this, like, just focus, get a direction and go. The art change kind of really solidified to me that there's a lack of direction, and maybe that's gotten worse with Brad's passing and leadership changes. But I don't know, man. I don't think 247 ultimately is a good thing. I just don't. I don't think it's a good thing for Pantheon as an MMORPG. I don't think it's a good thing for Pantheon and Visionary Realms as a company, because
I don't think it saves the game either.
I don't think it does either.
Yeah, I agree. It just seems like it's dead in the water now.
It's probably at this point, I'll be honest with you, just my thoughts on it. Probably 2025, we get the "we dreamed big, but we just couldn't quite make it happen" release.
Let us know how you feel in the comments below on the whole Pantheon 247 reveal, their thoughts, and the QA. I should have the bullet point recap list for you of some of the high points on that call. Maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes after the show. Troy, this week you put up a list of some MMOs that people are highly anticipating for 2024. So let's walk through it and see if we're as eager to see some of these as well. What do you got?
Well, first up, we've got Throne and Liberty with the combat changes they've recently introduced. And, not a lot can be said about that at the moment. A lot of people still under NDA from some of the technical testing and stuff like that, but they have made some improvements to the game, and still kind of looking forward to that a little bit. I think without the auto battler and with the combat improvements, I think this could be a nice little time waster MMO to get into and spend some time in while you're waiting on your MMO of choice.
Well, Fredo, how you feeling about Throne and Liberty? Obviously, Unreal 5, it looks dope, right?
I was so excited for it, and then when I saw that they had an auto battler, I gave up. I'm still not for it, but I'm not going to be solid stance on it. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see how it comes along, but I still just get nothing but mobile vibes for it now. So.
Yeah, and you will be able to play on mobile too. It is definitely one, gents, for me that I'm like, I don't know. Then next up, I think you got one that I am a little more interested in, and that's PAX Day.
PAX Days probably made a big splash with their little intro video that they did.
I'm showing the character creator video they just put up this week too.
Okay, so I don't know that an MMO has made such a big splash with such an out of nowhere, introductory little cinematic video as they had, and like a lot of people were instantly like, "Oh God, it looks amazing! It's gonna be amazing." So
this is one like we're not sure we're gonna see fully release in 2024, but it's likely we will receive some type of access to the masses at some point in the year, whether that's like an early access, a highly populated closed beta, or even open beta. We'll see. We don't have an exact date for this one. It's just likely to open its doors sometime next year. I will be walking right through. Yeah.
We're not going to get a full release in 2024, but we should get something out of them based on sort of the timeline they're going forward with, and they're sort of out of nowhere. Where hey, here's where we are. It looked further along than something like Pantheon.
A little bit. A little bit. Character creator looks pretty dope there, Wilfredo.
Oh, you're talking to that guy. It looks amazing. Ever since that first video dropped, I was like, ooh, this looks good. I'm invested. I want to see what this. I am so looking forward to this. Even if it isn't early access, I don't care. I want to play this game. I want to. I'm hyped for this one.
Yeah, and it's definitely more Troy, I think, your cup of tea than mine, and kind of like a survival-esque game, but I'm certainly interested. What do you got next?
Next up is Blue Protocol, one that is anime-esque. Not really my cup of tea, but the action combat does look fast and interesting.
Wilfredo, you on board here?
So I'm kind of iffy. I'm kind of in between. I like these games because it takes me back to like Dragon's Nest and stuff like that, but they do get kind of stale quick for me because it's the same loop over and over again. I am interested in it. I was interested in it when they first announced it in I believe it was Tokyo Game Show, and I was like, ooh, yeah, I'll get behind this. And I hadn't seen anything, but now that we have more footage, I'm like, I'm definitely going to try it out because it might be that game where they have a good game loop, and I'm just like, all right, I can stick with this for a while. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Another one like Throne and Liberty that here in the West will be under the care of Amazon Games. It's kind of a churro saying Blue Protocol looks like a good in-between MMO. I feel like that's about right. Yeah, I feel like, I'll dabble in this for a month and then I won't play it for 2 or 3. And then I'll dabble in for a month. And no, I keep saying that about Guild Wars 2, which I actually did reinstall 3 days ago and booted up, Troy. And booted up. And and claimed I went
How
through
were
my
the silver waste this year?
Shut up. Stop by the silver waste for Halloween. I was gonna go do the tower, right? Which, by the way, Jason did finally beat the tower last year, and then this year they put in the easy mode one. He was a little miffed when I told him about that. So I realized I was cleaning my inventory out, and I realized that I still have 380 boosts in my bags.
Well done, sir.
Look at all this time I can spend in the silver wastes.
I have 2 or 3 80 characters, and I still have 380 boosts in my bags. So yeah, good old me. I was like, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get this installed. I think I did it like Tuesday. I'm gonna get this installed, and I'm gonna clear my quest log. Just dump everything. I'm gonna go do the tower real quick for Halloween because I like doing that. And then I'm just gonna start in Secrets of the Obscure, right? Like open the journal entry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just kick off the expansion with a level 80 whatever. I think I was gonna log into the Mesmer. And I was like, I'm not even gonna look up builds because I know I'm out of date and stuff like that. I'm just gonna relearn the skills I have real quick. And we'll go through, and if we start having huge combat problems, then I'll go look at how bad my build is from whatever it gave me when I boosted to 80. And then I spent half an hour in there sorting my bags out, and I was like, fuck this. Shut it off. I had so much garbage in my bags. I was like, I'm done. Blue Protocol will absolutely be that for me. One next up that I am super pumped about for no good reason because we know next to nothing about it is Chrono Odyssey.
Yeah, this one I wrote 2 sentences about because hey, it's going to be on PC, console, and mobile. Is the extent of my my knowledge of this game. I knew nothing about it going in. It was on the list of games that we could see in 2024, so I had to include it on there. But as far as what's out there for anything, this was the least by far.
Yeah, I'm super interested. Wilfredo,
I'm interested because it definitely gives me like Crimson Desert vibes, but in an MMO setting. I'm looking forward to it.
What's up? What's next, Troy?
Next up is my little baby that I'm looking forward to, Nightingale. Gas Lamp Survival, baby, going to different dimensions, adventuring, survival crafting, sandboxing it up. Definitely looking forward to that because that is going to be super fun. And we're going to get early access now at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
Maybe a launch by the end of the year, hopefully. So looking forward to that for sure.
Wilfredo, I don't know about you. I'm kind of like on this one. It looks gorgeous. I'm definitely going to check it out. But I don't know how long it's going to keep me. It just doesn't read like it's my type of MMO.
This one again.
By the way, we should be clear. This is not an MMORPG.
No.
So in the way some of the previous titles we were talking about are.
This one definitely is in the middle for me. It gives me kind of like segmented remnant vibes, where it's like you just go here into this, like you go through this portal, different dimension, track some stuff, kill some stuff, grab some mats, build something, and then you dart back. So I think this is something that I could probably play with my friends every once in a while, kind of like how I'm playing Synced at the moment. It seems like it'll be something to do from time to time. You know, it doesn't look awful, but it's definitely a time killer. I would say that.
Dune Awakening hits the list next, as if we did not have enough survival shit going on. I mean, we just got Pantheon 247. Come on. Dune Awakening. Again, this is like more Troy's cup of tea. You know, this is your kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll check it out, like I did V Rising, but I'm not gonna stick with it any longer than I really did with V Rising. I'm like, yeah, that's cute, that's neat. It's just, you know, I don't want to play it every day. But I know Troy's gonna be in on this, and I like the Dune IP, by the way. That has nothing to do with it.
I was going to say the Dune IP itself doesn't do as much for me as the Nightingale IP does. I'm definitely more interested in that. But I get that this is a big name that's going to attract a lot of folks just on the name itself.
Well, Fredo, you a Dune guy?
The movies and the book, sure. The game, I feel like this is going to be Conan Exiles. Just
well, yeah, it's Funcom, so
yeah, with a different skin,
that,
yeah, basically.
That in itself is my issue, is that it's Funcom. Like they put Conan Exiles is a good game, but if this is just a reskin for the most part, I'm probably not going to be as interested.
Ninja Panda saying it sounds like the year of Troy.
A lot of Troy-esque games are coming out.
Last up is probably the second most anticipated for myself, behind Chrono Odyssey, which I know nothing about still, and that's Digital Extremes' Soulframe. I just love the visual aesthetic, the kind of darker, almost muted, not quite like watercolor cartoony, but just like a very stylistic but also realistic art, very nature oriented. I'm very, very curious to see what Digital Extremes is cooking up. And this is another one where we don't necessarily know if we'll see a full release in 2024, but it's reasonable to assume that we will get some type of testing at minimum out of 2024. Wilfredo, Soulframe, you coming with me on this one?
I think so. I'm just curious if they're doing this like how they did Warframe at first, where it's instance like scenarios, or if they're going to do the open world aspect. I'm hoping open world, because that would make this so awesome. Basically, Warframe in the fantasy setting. Yes, I'm all in for it. I cannot wait for this.
Troy?
Yeah, I wrote that this could end up being the main event of the year for a lot of folks, whether it's just testing or not. You know, Digital Extremes has a fan base that's going to follow wherever they go. I think this game is going to attract more folks that wouldn't have been interested in Warframe, but can still acknowledge that you know, hey, these fans, they talk a lot of good stuff about Warframe, so maybe Soulframe could be everything it's cracked up to be.
You said Warframe has an audience that will follow it, and so that made me curious to go look at Wayfinder's Steam charts. 418 as of a few minutes ago. 24-hour peak is also under 500. Again, you know, there's more ways to play than just on Steam, but you know, it gives you an idea. It gives you an idea. Well, we can skip that first one, right? Because we already didn't realize that game overlapped into two topics. So we'll skip PAX Day and its sexy character creator. You already got to see that. A few updates that I feel like you should know about in the world of gaming. War Thunder is adding a ground map that actually adapts to the era of the vehicles you take into battle. I thought this was really, really neat, gang. Like, we've seen maps that have different variants before, right? In other war games, or like, you know, there's 3 different fields for this sports game or whatever. I thought it was very, very cool that the map queued off of the tank or vehicle selections of players, and not just, hey, you get the 1920s version of this map randomly. Hey, here's the 1990s version of this map randomly, Troy. I thought this one was kind of neat, where it was basing off of the actual selections.
Yeah, it's just some aesthetic changes to the map, but it's very cool that they're going to match it with the era of the vehicles that you're driving, of the tanks and the other vehicles that you're in. If you're in a mid 19th century tank, there you're going to get like airships and things like that crashed on the field. Whereas if you're in a more modern thing, you're going to get like a more modern aircraft crash on the field and more modern vehicles in parking lots around tourist centers and things like that. So I thought it was pretty cool when I wrote it up too.
Yeah, I like little nice touches like that. You know, it
Yep.
doesn't really do anything, but whatever.
Yeah, little things like that will add up over time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Guild Wars 2 is getting its first mass update or big update to the Secrets of the Obscure expansion. That's going to be adding convergences. What the hell is a convergence? This is not a Guild Wars term I'm used to, Troy or Wilfredo. Somebody help me out here. It's coming out November 7th. Is this their new like public feature?
I wonder if that's like the portal thing. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I wonder if it's like the
okay,
the
yeah,
portals.
I'm right. This is their new public thing. It's a new mastery track related to an encounter type called convergences. Oh, okay, so it's their large scale rifts. Is it the portals? Yeah, like portals. Okay,
Yeah,
but different. Yeah, it's an arena setting for groups of up to 50 players to jump in there and do some cool stuff there. The new seasonal Wizards Vault. So yeah, I really should play Guild Wars 2. Like I really should.
I do need
I
to
think
get
a lot of people say that. Like everybody talks about how it's a really good game. I really should play it. Even me, who does jump in from time to time, it never really gets its full time hooks into me.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, Fredo, did you ever like get to max level, or were you ever Guild Wars 2?
Yeah, I think I've got 2 characters at cap.
Please, I got coins enough for 3. I already have 3 or 4.
He's got more characters than that in reserve.
Yeah, in reserve. They haven't even been born yet. They're already level 80.
We're up to 80. Yeah, no, I have a rogue at cap, but it's weird because when it first came out, I was all in for it. Like that was the game I was mainlining. And then they had the combat update patch, and I was mainlining it even hard. And then after Heart of Thorns came out, I just kind of fell off. And I don't know what happened. But I go back from time to time. I'm like,
I don't know what happened. I walk past my room sometimes. I see the software, and I'm like, what happened to you, buddy? Like, what happened to you?
Hey, I remember you. You were there.
NCSoft is going to be opening up testing for Battle Crush. It's actually already open, so if you're looking for... This one's weird, though. They're testing, like, not only varies by region, but also varies by time, too. So check out the article on MMOBomb if you actually want to check this out or put it on their Steam page or whatever. This is like a 30-person, couple different game mode brawler / battle royale. I don't know. I just put it in here because if you're looking for something goofy to waste a few hours, it looks like you can do worse than this. And then I was kind of like, well, watching this is definitely something Troy would play. This looks like a just slightly more cartoony Smite with the like kind of MOBA-esque asymmetric or isometric camera angle and even the way some abilities are triggered.
Yeah, it's something that I would check out and just check into it. I'm not sure that it's going to be anything for me long term, but it's definitely the type of game that I'm like, yeah, let me jump into it and at least see what it is.
Wilfredo, I got some great news for you before we slide over to do the weekly bombs.
Ooh.
Yeah. Skull and Bones delayed again.
Ooh. Okay. Who didn't have that on their bingo card?
Okay, so I guess technically it's a delay, but to be fair, we didn't really have a launch date from the last time they delayed it. It was just going to be early 2024. Now it's pushed back, according to Eurogamer and Ubisoft's financial reporting, to, later. So we still don't have a date. But yeah, later.
Okay.
Later. This has literally now been delayed, what, 7 times?
I think it's 7. I think
A,
it's
a bunch.
7 times? I think I actually, when I wrote up the last one, I think I put in the headline how many times it had been delayed. It's finally time for Skull and Bones and a closed beta. Yeah, they did have their closed beta. Too bad it was.
Ooh.
Yeah, here's it being delayed to March of 2023. How cute. I don't know. It's literally like I think 6 or 7 times that it's been delayed. Oh.
Look, it's Ubisoft. Like at this point, if Ubisoft says, "Yeah, don't worry, it's coming out," all right, I'll hold my breath.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. I'm going to give an A-bomb, a sad A-bomb to Pantheon. I don't have a whole lot of personal hope for the project anymore. I was very, very interested in it. I still wish them luck, and I hope I'm totally wrong by all of this stuff. But I've just seen this playbook before, as I said in my piece. And this playbook really doesn't end well because you can't really pull off this playbook unless it was part of the plan to begin with. By the time you pull this playbook, it's a little too late in most cases. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're totally legit on, you know what, we could give or take the monetization. We're really after the data. But I just don't get that feeling the way that they've described things. I think things are a little closer to panic than the Pantheon team wants people to believe. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I would be the first to come in onto this show and say, sorry, Visionary Realms. Sorry, Pantheon fans. I was wrong. I just don't feel like I'm going to be. I wish it luck. I'm going to continue to watch it, but it makes me sad. Troy, go ahead.
A bomb to Nightingale testing getting ever closer. I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Wilfredo.
I'm going to give an A-bomb to my Green Bay Packers, man. They are just bombing it this season.
It's a Cal jumping in chat with you in the NFL saying A-bomb to these 49er fans killing DC Steve Wilkes for giving up 19 and 22 points in back-to-back losses, but letting Kyle slide for scoring only 17 in each of those same losses. Y'all some hypocrite assholes. Yeah, that sounds about right. From the viewers on YouTube or on MMOBomb.com, please don't forget your weekly bombs. Dub bomb for something good, A-bomb for something bad, and your question of the week answers are a vital part of the show. On YouTube, put them in the comments. Come on over to MMOBomb.com on the show and put them in the comments there. That one pays the bills, too, so I give those ones priority if you have something you really, really want on the show. Unless you cuss me out, I'm going to put it in the show. EQOA Nostalgia says, yeah, Fortnite. Followed that from Inception. I bought it early and was supremely pissed it turned into a battle royale game. Wife and I both quit. Pantheon is likely dead. They've taken way too long, and now the change in tone has diehard fans backing out left and right. What Brad had sold everyone and had envisioned is a far cry from where it's heading. Unless they make an absolutely amazing and industry-changing MMORPG, which was never the target to begin with, so I don't think that they can. I don't see it doing well at all. I was one of the first channels covering Pantheon. I even spoke to Brad and had him on my friends list on Facebook. It's a real shame. But I think Pantheon may have died with Brad. Monsters and Memories is more interesting to me now. I am seeing that in all the Pantheon discussions, by the way. While much smaller in scope and scale, it's more realistically what I wanted from Pantheon, which is essentially EQOA/EQ1 in modern times. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, EQOA. You know that. The amount of times we talked about this on Twitter, you know. Go ahead, Troy.
Corey V. Microsoft is going to pretty much make Blizzard and Activision even worse. Microsoft has been known to be a terrible company to work with. They will legit kill studios because they're not making profits they want. I can see Microsoft making the already insanely monetized Call of Duty even more monetized. I don't see Microsoft being anything but bad for the gamers with this deal.
I think it's a unique take. I think like most of the takes I've seen are either feeling like it's going to be a net positive or neutral. Like it'll just, to continue business as usual. So thank you for giving us your take on it. Go ahead, Wilfredo.
Misfit Rain So is the new MMO Blizzard is making gonna stay in production? Epic needs to fix their launcher. I would probably use it more if I didn't dread starting the launcher. So slow. I agree. The Epic launcher is just a mess.
I disagree. It is terrible to boot up, but you wouldn't use it more. Shut up. Like even I love you, Misfit, but even if it booted faster, which is a problem, you fucking wouldn't use it more. Stop it.
I was going to
don't say that.
buy Mines of Moria, Return to Mines of Moria,
Oh
until
yeah,
I
yeah.
realized it was
Oh,
on
look
the
at that,
Epic
a
Games
survivor
Store.
crafting game. Imagine
Yeah.
that.
And then I realized it was just on the Epic Store, and I was like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, so on the Blizzard MMO front, yeah, that's like their survival thing. What was the code name for that? Odyssey, I think. Was that it? Chat, maybe you can remind me. I think it was codename Odyssey. Or maybe that was like the real name for it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, it's still a thing. Still a thing. The Epic Store exclusive sucks. The Epic Store, I literally have used this all the time, and it's a credit to Zach Sharps, who I wanted to come on today and talk about Pantheon, but it was a little too short notice too. I was like, I wanted to have like 5 people on today. Poor Wilfredo, Jason Winter, and Zach Sharps is gonna have him on with Troy and I. And I hit all of them, and I was like, I know it's short notice, but what are you doing tomorrow? When Pantheon dropped all that stuff. Anyway, Zach Sharps has said this about the Epic Game Store, and it's absolutely best. The Epic Game Store is where you go to visit your free games in prison. That's you just put your hand up against the glass and play your free games, and then you log out of it, and that's it. So yeah, a couple more in chat here. Stojanowski says A-bomb to Star Wars Jedi Survivor for not being available on Xbox One. I love playing Fallen Order, and now I need a new console for Survivor. Just no. Yeah, the other new Star Wars game, too, is also rumored to be delayed from in the Skull and Bones announcement. They talked about a major title being delayed. It's believed to be Star Wars Outlaws, I think, but it's not for sure yet, speaking of Star Wars. And Ninja Panda, dub bomb to the Final Fantasy 14 Fan Fest and the trailer to the Viper class. You just tried opening Epic Games Store, Tori says, and even free game isn't worth that. Yeah, it takes a while. Question of the week last week. Should gaming sites cover leaks? Kitsuruha says, question of the week. I feel like if the possible leak / made up BS seems credible enough, I'd like to hear takes on the info from people I enjoy hearing the news from, as long as it's not some kind of major spoiler or something. I see no harm in it, and as long as it's taken lighthearted, the presenters can make fun and wild accusations to make it even more fun. Go ahead, Troy.
Trinshaw says, seeing how the individual playing the game agreed to not disclose information to the general public, a gaming website should also be professional enough to abide by that same agreement, even if it means the gamer did not.
Yeah, so this is an interesting take for me, and I replied to Trendshot on the site. Because I think, like in an altruistic world, right? Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, have the higher moral ground and say, just because, Troy, you leaked it doesn't mean that I'm going to blow it up via MMOBomb. I get that. But I think it also puts a lot of onus on one, the website or the outlet has to even know there was an NDA that was being broken to begin with. And that sometimes is harder to know than you may think. Now, Pantheon, it's readily available knowledge that a lot of that's NDA covered. So that situation doesn't apply. But then you're also if you apply that logic, you're asking Wilfredo, the website or the editor or the writer or whoever, to abide by an NDA that A, they've never read or seen, B, might not know exists, and C, even if they didn't sign.
Yeah.
Which I think gets into a little bit weird. And yeah, Churro, I think you said this last week too, and I meant to add it to the show, because I think this was with the Pantheon thing, I think this was a little more whistleblower than leak. I think it was important that Pantheon be upfront about what this game mode was before they started saying we're going to let backers into it if you are backing at certain levels. Like that, this should have been disclosed back in July when they announced it was going to be its own mode, very clearly laying out what that mode was. I do agree with you there. Go ahead, Wilfredo.
Nuno Silva. If a leak is about a pretty big change like the Pantheon one, then yes, it should be reported because it can lead to positive changes to said game. From all the public attention the leak gets. I mean, yeah, but no. At the same time, like, the leak, it's a leak, right? And if somebody does get going back to what you said, Mike, if you're the outlet that gets this, you didn't sign that NDA. I agree, sure. If somebody left it on the table, cool.
I will say the way we handle leaks on MMOBomb, at least as long as I've been in charge, the editor-in-chief, is exactly the way I handled it with Pantheon. The leak was credible. It reached a credible enough level for me that I was contemplating reporting on it. And so I reached out to the team that the leak talks about first. And I even told them, here's what the flavor of the piece is. Like, what's the, not word, here's copy or anything. Do you want to comment? Do you want to be a part of this? Can we get an interview? And you know what? There have been situations where the reply they've given me has led to me not publishing it right away because the next day I'm going to go interview them instead and I'm going to have a better piece, right? I could put this leaky thing up and get some hits for it on Tuesday, or Wednesday I could be one of the few sites, if not the only site, that has the leaky stuff and an interview with the team behind it. So it's always, we don't blindside companies. Because I want their take on it. We're a news outlet, not a clickbaity YouTube channel, much to our own number of hits detriment. Anyway, Foot7 says, yeah, cover leaks. Just claim they're leaks and not confirmed. Yeah, we typically do. Sometimes if we're not going to say, hey, this is a leak or whatever, we'll put rumor as a prefix on the headline. You can see that on a lot of stuff Troy's written up and things where it'll just be rumor, and then the headline. So. Yep. Question of the week this week. What's your most anticipated game of 2024? Doesn't even have to be multiplayer, but if you've got an MMO or multiplayer game, put that on the list too. And don't forget your weekly bombs. D-bomb for something good, A-bomb for something bad in the world of gaming or just life in general. Until next week, Wilfredo, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter. It's still Twitter to me. Damien X Marius.
Troy.
Twitch.tv/NoobFridge. I'll be on later tonight hunting them artifacts. We're going to be doing Garden of Genesis.
Is that in Guild Wars 2?
No, that's in New World.
Oh. I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there at magicman1. But more importantly, follow at MMOBomb so you'll know every time we're going live with a stream, a podcast, a giveaway, a first look video, news, interviews, and more. Stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.